We're back again this week. We've made it 2 consecutive weeks, guys. That's kind of a milestone for us, as Zach
Let's
knows.
go.
Sometimes we
Let's
don't
do
be
it.
doing that. We don't always be doing that,
No,
but
no, not
Talk
we're
about
gonna,
consecutively.
consistency.
yeah, right. We're a
It
lot
is
of
key.
a lot of
Some
teams are
say it is
consistent.
key.
We are right now. No, but no, we're gonna talk about everything going on across the league. A couple particular topics that I find most interesting. We'll jump into that. There's some huge news that we have to talk about, which was not expected at all. But the more I think about it, I'm like, is it kind of maybe good for the coach that was fired anyway? Like it probably felt like it was time, even if it was a
Well,
weird
way
timing
to
situation.
spoil what the news
Yeah, I mean,
was.
we know what the big topic is, Zach. We know what the biggest thing
Oh
going
yeah,
on there is
Malik
right now.
Neighbors is out with a
Yeah,
concussion
Malik Neighbors
again.
still has his head caved in. That's not great. Giants seem to do okay without him, surprisingly, but
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. But no, obviously our first topic is going to be the firing of Robert Saleh from the New York Jets. The weird way it happened, the what consequences may come from it, a number of things that I think are interesting about it. But first, I want to get you guys' thoughts on the Thursday night game. I certainly have a couple, mostly about the Seahawks and their ability to just kind of find ways to lose the game in multiple ways. So, but Jake, what did you think about the Thursday night matchup?
Yeah, it kind of felt like every Seahawks 49ers game over the last couple years where,
Yeah,
one team is just better and the other one is like I said this before the show, but the Seahawks are good enough to be like in the wild card race every year, but they're
yeah,
just not better than that. And I think that's what we saw last night because they for a second, I mean they were down by 6 and they had the ball in the fourth
yes.
quarter, and I was thinking,
hmm
it would be hilarious if the 49ers went 2-4.
I
That
was
would just be
I
funny.
was rooting
But
for that. Admittedly, no offense to Casey if you're watching or paying
I
attention.
kind of was too.
Yeah,
I just thought
just
it would be funny.
the chaos would be great. It'd be very funny.
Yeah, and then Geno Smith just threw a horrible interception, and
Yeah,
there went
He had
that.
two of
no.
those, right?
Two picks. One was
Yeah,
really truly horrible in my opinion, but the other one was like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, turnovers doom them. Lack of running game doom them. Just just a comedy of errors, penalties, weird like can't. DK Metcalf couldn't keep his feet in bounds on the one
Oh
touchdown
yeah,
opportunity at the end of the first
Isaiah
half.
likely did.
Yeah, like just little things, and like I think that's kind of like what you're saying, Jake. I think this team is talented. I do think that they obviously are dealing with some things, but in general, like they just can't quite put it all together week to week. It feels like Gino will play like a top 10 quarterback most of the time for this team since he's been there. But on the weeks he doesn't, it feels like the defense also craters, the run game doesn't work, and it just feels like they can't quite get it all to happen at the same time. And until they do, teams that are similar or more talented than them are going to probably be able to handle them pretty easily most of the time.
Is it an
yeah,
offensive line issue, or is
Yes, they
that
are
really
offensive
the?
line is
yeah.
certainly
Yeah,
part of the issue.
yeah,
Now Smith has
It's
been
not
able to
great.
mitigate some of that this year
exactly. Yeah,
because
yeah.
but it's still like I don't think he was I think he may have been sacked maybe once if not
Once, yeah.
zero times. So like he was able to navigate it, but there was a lot of pressure coming in and it
But when
affected him
you're
a lot.
forced to throw the ball 52 times and
Yes.
you can only
Yeah.
gain 52 yards in the rushing game, that's
Yeah.
not great.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just they can't get like there's the Kenneth Walker game a couple weeks ago where it's 3 touchdowns and now they can't get him going. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of feels like it's super inconsistent week to week about everything about this team except for Gino for the most part has been really consistent for his
yeah.
time there.
As opposed
Everything
to the
else doesn't feel that way.
as opposed to the 49ers who could literally grab me from my couch and throw me
Yes.
behind their offensive line and I could get 99 yards.
Yeah.
Average a nice
It's
4.5 yards a carry.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Right.
is astounding. Isaac Garendo, is that how you
Yes.
pronounce it? Yes.
Which I was a big fan of him pre-draft, admittedly. So I do know as a Grando, but still not great when you give up a 76-yard run with the game on the line to anybody.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
good or
yeah.
not, but yeah, not ideal for the Seahawks. But hey, they technically are still tied at the top of the division. Now, the Niners obviously have
They
the
are
advantage head to head now, but the NFC West is, let's just say it's not
crowded.
awesome.
It's
Yeah, not
crowded.
awesome at the moment.
I don't think it's that bad.
It's not bad, but
Everybody keeps talking about
yeah,
the NFC West being like mediocre and stuff, and I'm like, why is it mediocre? Like the Rams are just devastated by injuries, but they're still playing all right. Um, the Cardinals are playing a lot better than a lot
yes,
of people assumed. The Seahawks and the 49ers, I mean, the 49ers are also just absolutely just destroyed by injuries, and the Seahawks are the Seahawks.
Right.
I think like there's a lot of other divisions that you should be like, oh wow, they really don't look good before you're talking about the NFC West. What about the NFC East?
Right.
Like
Now,
it's
I
such
will
a really
say,
weird one to just like that has I've just not to like say it on you, Shane, but like I've seen that like that specific idea pushed around Twitter a lot recently, and I'm just like, what the NFC West?
I think
Like,
the issue though, Zach, is in comparison to expectations of this division,
Yeah.
and then also because of all of the injuries by the Rams and the 49ers, it has dulled what otherwise could be a very fun division to watch. Where the Niners still don't look quite themselves, even when they do win. The Seahawks are very inconsistent. The Cardinals have had 3 weeks where they've looked totally comparable, if not like really good, and 2 weeks where they look like the worst team in the league. So it's kind of like there's just no real consistency by anybody in the division. Even the top teams are struggling because of injuries, right? So it kind of just makes the whole division feel less fun to watch when you're missing so many guys that you'd love to be watching right now.
well, yeah, but I
So
don't necessarily feel like it's, but like people are like, oh, it's awful, but again, I don't feel like it's awful because of like talent and performance. It's just because man, we were really missing a
the
lot of people.
circumstances, yeah, it's the
Yeah.
circumstances what they're going through.
Whereas like
Which, yeah,
Whereas like the NFC, what the East, I'd be like, oh no, they suck. Like they're bad.
Commanders are somehow like
They're the
kind of
only
keeping
one.
the
They're the only one
division
right now.
afloat.
Dallas is
Um,
bad because of injuries, but that's the only reason. Like you can't
don't
tell
tell
me
the Steelers that Dallas is bad,
Phillies,
but whatever.
Phillies.
Yeah, Philadelphia at least is getting their two receivers back, so they might actually be able to play offense a
Fair,
little bit.
fair.
Which that's
But they can't
yeah,
rush the ball right now, which is what they've always had
which
their
is
staple on.
stupid, but yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. No, but let's jump into the first topic here. Robert Saleh, of course, let go by the New York Jets, and apparently like escorted out by security. Like didn't
That
get
was
to
really
like
that's a
Kind
really
of a strange
strange
detail to
Yeah.
add there.
yeah, like didn't get to like address the team, I guess, which like I don't I don't understand that at all.
The
It
Legitimately,
sounded like
security just makes it
it's not like
sound
the
like it
only
was.
person who knew that this decision was going to happen at the time that it did was Woody Johnson.
yes, it
And
seems like it.
I think he was worried about the reaction of more people finding out and being like, hey yo, excuse me. So they were like, hey, he's just like, yo, get him out of here. Get him out of here. Go,
Which
go.
like
But it's
okay,
still super weird.
yeah, like
Yeah.
did he think that he was gonna like burn the place down or something? Like
I
I
think maybe he was worried about player. The only thing I can think of, he was worried about player reaction because
which if that's the case, then
as
maybe don't do this.
That
But
I was
that's
gonna say
beside the
that
point.
should be a signal that you might be making a bad decision.
Yeah, but
it's the Jets.
It's
this
the
is
Jets,
I mean it's the Jets. Yeah,
I would put this up there with like when we talk about the Colts and Jim Irsay, like Woody Johnson's gonna do Woody Johnson things. Um, so I like again, and that's where there was that weird like announcement right before all this happened with Pat McAfee being like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers is gonna be on the show," and all that, and like they're they talk. I think Aaron Rodgers was in on it a lot more than they're portraying, but he's trying to save face, and because he has to save face. Um, there's just way too many things that popped up over the past couple of like weeks and stuff to show that they were way too at odds, and like he wasn't a direct like result of this. Now, what I think is funny is, as we talked about right before the show started, is we don't know if Robert Saleh was going to do anything actually to put his job in jeopardy, such as like he talked about the cadence stuff, and obviously that's a big no for Aaron Rodgers. He loves his cadence. Do a demotion on the offense, such as Nathaniel Hackett. And that is the funniest thing is they're like, hey, bye, Saleh. We're going to put your little lackey in charge. And he was like, cool. Goodbye, Nate. Get down there. You're no. Go. So I don't know what's going on in New York right now. I don't think Saleh was going to last the season. And I do feel like this is somewhat of a decision to possibly salvage as much as they could before things went off the rails entirely. And if you do it, then you might as well do it now. But I think the circumstances surrounding the situation are also extremely strange.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is the fact that, like, let's assume for a second. Now, this is giving the Jets too much credit. However, let's assume for a second that really realistically it was just maybe the locker room wasn't responding to him anymore. You know, guys like Aaron Rodgers and maybe some other team leaders were like, listen, this isn't really working out. We need something else going on here. We like Jeff. And Jeff Ulbrich will be a good interim head coach. I do think that he's a guy that I feel like will be an NFL head coach, whether it's for this team after the season if they stick with them or some other time in the near future. He has that makeup. However, the problem with this football team had very little to do with Robert Saleh, especially when you consider what his specialty is as a defensive coach. The defense, not that it's been quite as good as it has been in the past couple of years, but it's still been plenty good. The biggest issue on this football team is that Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the team, and what he's doing doesn't work with these receivers, right? We've talked about in the past, at least I have, with Rodgers, the thing that makes him special is that when him and his receivers are on the same page, when he's able to direct traffic, when he's able to get them where they need to be position-wise, it is almost impossible to stop him because he can put the ball anywhere he wants to, usually away from the defense, obviously, right? That's not working out with this receiving core. Now, would it have been nice for him to, be there for all of like the voluntary workouts and stuff to kind of get this on the right path? Sure. But he was too busy pretending to be a vice president or whatever the hell was going on with him on the offseason.
RFK, baby.
Right, exactly.
Election season, Aaron Rodgers.
I have something eating my brain.
Yes, yeah, and Aaron was probably the reason. No, the point is because of the way that Aaron Rodgers plays quarterback and the way that he seems to have to play quarterback, the only chance this Jets team, in my opinion, has of getting out of the funk that they're in is if they go trade for Devontae Adams. Like, that's legitimately their recourse for the season.
And if that happens, I'm sorry. The Raiders should be able to have the Jets over a barrel and being like,
they should
give us what we want.
Legitimately, they should be able to give whatever they want, pretty much, in my opinion.
Exactly. There should be no negotiating. Yeah. I mean, like there is. You bring that up. There is no team more desperate for Devontae Adams than
quite literally, yes. Because no other team will value him the way that Aaron Rodgers will specifically.
And the Jets have zero like negotiating value in that scenario. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if they go that route. But like they will have to give up a king's ransom to get it. Like I feel like there is no option outside of that. And I mean, we've talked about them doing this in the past, but they are basically just like, yo, if we don't make the playoffs, we already know that all of us are getting fired.
Yeah, it's over.
Good luck to the next regime. You guys have zero resources.
Legitimately, yeah. But go ahead, Jake, because I know this is something that's close to home for you in this case with the Raiders.
Yeah, so. I mean, they want a second round pick, but it's just getting confusing because. Antonio Pierce had a press conference on Wednesday, and he mentioned, Devontae is still a Raider. He's always been a Raider, and
not true, but
he's in. Yeah, I don't really know what he meant. I was like, he's been a Raider for 2 years and 4 weeks, but
I don't know. Whatever.
Can we talk about how Antonio Pierce is quite possibly the, I want to say, strangest head coach right now? Like, he has no filter, and that is a problem.
I mean, I think it's great.
I think it's from, I don't take the Raiders too seriously right now. Like just genuinely. Like when
that's fair.
Like this Raiders Steelers game, Shane, this week, I don't have any expectations.
I don't either, unfortunately. I don't.
I think this season is a good example of why you shouldn't take the Raiders too seriously. So from that standpoint, it's pretty entertaining because every week there's like last week, he liked an Instagram post, and now there's the whole trade rumors and everything. So that's fun. And then this week he comes out and he's like, actually, Devontae is in the facility every day working out. He loves it here. We talked, and he mentioned that they talked and everything is good. I think personally, he's just trying to keep leverage in negotiations by being like, hey, we don't have to trade him.
I sure hope so.
He wants to be here, but. Yeah, I don't know. My main point is that it just is getting more confusing, and the Raiders are not a serious organization. So
those tickets for the Pittsburgh and Las Vegas game are the most expensive tickets according to ESPN this week.
It's
It's
going to be
because
about 60% terrible towels in there too.
it will
Oh
be.
yeah. Oh yeah.
But there's a reason for that, though.
That's because it's in Vegas.
Yeah, it's in Vegas. It's a historic rivalry.
And it's the Steelers, who are
And it's just-
probably outside of Dallas the second biggest fan base in the United States.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, now will I tell everyone to not go to that game? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
'Cause,
Number 2,
you know,
rightfully so, is Washington Baltimore, and that should
yeah, that should be the.
That would
should
be such a better football game than the.
I'd
Steelers
say
Ravens
even
this
I'd
week.
say even Lions Cowboys, because at least with the Cowboys, like you get the Cowboys fandom situation.
I just realized that's gonna throw my local games broadcasting into a frenzy because those are both the local teams.
Yeah, true.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good luck with that, Zach. I don't know what to expect there.
I just
No,
don't know what the
but-
schedule is going to be. It depends on who has it. It says it's a CBS game, but I don't know if that means I'm going to have a 4:00 Fox game, and that sucks.
yeah, the Fox games or whatever.
I mean, the Fox games suck as well, but
But no, the Jets, their problems are far beyond Robert Saleh and getting rid of him. But I did want to, and Zach, I think you brought this up before we jumped on. I do want to talk a little bit about who we think should have been, if we don't think it was Saleh, which I don't think it should have been, who should have been the first head coach fired, and who do we think will be the next head coach fired. I definitely have 2 guys in mind in particular that I think are going to be gone either at the end of the season or before it. But I wanted to kick it off with Jake. What did you think as far as
Jack.
that goes?
Oh,
Jake.
man,
Yeah, Jack.
Which one, Jack? Which one is he at? Which one is he talking about?
Combined them for a second there.
I kind of thought Saleh was going to be fired this year at some point, just based on
That
how
does
things are
make
going.
sense. Yeah, just because of the way that things are.
I'm shocked that Doug Peterson kept his job longer than Robert Saleh. That's just insane to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's got to be the next to get fired. Unless Jacksonville seriously turns something around, I think you could probably throw Sirianni in there too, but I think the Eagles have a better chance of. Oh, my phone thought I just said Siri.
I mean, kind of.
Kind of close.
But yeah, I would have expected maybe both Sirianni or Peterson to go before Saleh. So,
what do you think, Zach?
Personally, Sirianni is very high on my list. The fact that he did not lose his job at the end of last season was astounding.
Yeah.
And into this season. I guess I have a question regarding, and I guess the reason his name doesn't come up is just the sheer amount of injuries they're having. But personally, if Kevin Stefanski can't move on from Deshaun Watson based on his performance this season, I think he has to be on a hot seat because that is malpractice to send him out on the field every week.
So
I get that they pay him a lot of money, but I am sorry. And somebody was pointing out, like, maybe Jameis Winston is like, yeah, fam, I really don't want to play. I'm sorry.
Please don't put me in.
Don't put me in.
you could put Dorian Thompson Robinson.
Yeah. Put the second year guy in. I'm not playing.
So to that point, Zach, like he's on my list of names to watch, but the thing with Stefanski is I legitimately believe that he's too good of a coach to not know.
Yes.
He's too good of a coach to not know that Deshaun Watson is ass. I don't think he's allowed to bench him. I legitimately don't think he is being given the opportunity.
Jimmy
to bench him.
Haslam's got him.
I can see that because he looks miserable during.
He does. Like, there's no way you can tell me that Kevin Stefanski, who is a 2-time head coach of the year, can tell you. Yeah, I believe he's 2-time head coach of the year, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 2 years ago, and then the playoff season, I think, with Baker Mayfield. But the point is that a guy that good as a head coach and who still has a lot of good qualities, you cannot tell me that he thinks Deshaun Watson is good enough to keep throwing out there. Like, because no one else thinks that on planet except for maybe Deshaun Watson. Even honestly, I don't even know if he thinks that. Let's be honest about it. He kind of looks like he's like, man, maybe I shouldn't be out here, guys. Like, that's kind of what he plays like. So the point is I wouldn't put him on that list because I think that he's being handicapped by his organization. So unless the organization also wants to just let him take the fall for it, which feels short-sighted, I'm not willing to say he's truly on the hot seat yet, right? Especially coming off the year they had last year.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I would say though another name that I think is getting back towards that area, and he was able to stave it off because of their hot start. But that's Dennis Allen.
Yeah.
If they're not able to like get anything going, he was already on the hot seat to begin with, and he's another one that I was like, how do you roll the dice again
Yeah,
this season and
that's a
not
great point.
and especially after the way that season ended. They got Arthur Smith fired. That game should have also got Dennis Allen fired, because if you're telling me the entire team was like, no, we're not listening to you, that's a problem. So he definitely got some of that heat off of his back with the start. However, I understand injuries, but there was already questions coming into the season. If they can't turn something around and then all of a sudden they're back to third in the division above an awful Carolina team, you have to start having that conversation about Dennis Allen again.
He just hasn't really won at
Yeah, he
any
hasn't done
point
anything.
as a head coach. Like even back to when he was the
Yeah.
Raiders head coach a long time ago, he just does not really win.
I think the problem with
curious what his
Allen,
all-time
like,
record is.
I think it's not like super far below 500, but far enough that it's like, yeah. But I think the problem with him is that he should be a defensive coordinator. He should be the Steve Spagnuolo for someone. Like, that's what it should be. Because his defenses have been phenomenal everywhere he's been. It's just that he
Well,
can't do
that's
everything
what he
as a head
was.
coach. That's what
That's
exactly.
what he
That's
was
my point.
for Sean Payton.
It's
And
26-49.
Right.
That's bad.
It's just not
That's
good.
bad.
Right. It's just not good. Like
Jesus.
he shouldn't be in charge of the organization. He should
No.
be in charge of the defense, where he
Yes.
can kind of just let himself do his thing, and like it'll work out. But that's just not. Again, he's proven to us, I think, for a while that this isn't the best situation for him to be in. And like he's done a better job with the Saints technically than he's done elsewhere, but it's still just not enough as a head coach specifically.
See,
So
unlike the Raiders, who we were talking about being unserious, I feel like the Saints consider themselves too serious, because
yes,
you will never see them ever tear it down.
no,
And like I understand how important football is to the community of New Orleans and Louisiana, but at some point
you're
have
doing them
to,
a disservice by doing this. Like
you have to
are.
look at this team and be like, all right, we need a year.
Let's
to
maybe
just-
stop having
they need
80
to
million in
do what the
cap hit
Dolphins
every
did.
year.
Like I forget what year it was. It was like 2015 or not 20, like 2018, 2019, where they just shred all of the veteran contracts, signed a bunch of nobodies, and they're like, hey, we just got to get the books right. We're sorry. It's going to suck for a year, but we just got to get things back under control. And that's what they have to do. Like just cut ties with a bunch of people. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Cam Jordan before the trade deadline, because he is not playing well.
I don't think they'd get anything for him, so I don't really know if there's a point.
I think he gets some veteran. I mean, I guarantee you he could put. He's just not in the rotation right now. He's not even in the like.
I mean, I think there's a reason for that. So,
I mean, they have other people, but I definitely think he can make a splash on other teams. I just there's some interesting stuff going on there where it's just like I get it, but also I don't.
Yeah, so I'll chime in with. There's two names that stuck out to me. One's already been mentioned with Doug Peterson, right? I think the annual Colts loss at Jacksonville for the past 11 years has earned him a little bit of time. But I think had they lost that game, I wonder if he would not have a job, because one, like, you break a streak, right? Don't like breaking streaks. But two, like, 0-5 is for where Jacksonville was about 8-9 games and going into last year. Like, you can't be doing that. So he's an obvious one, but also the one that I think is the most interesting, and I think it's possibly overdue at this point if you're trying to maximize, especially when you consider the way that this team operates, where they don't spend a lot of money in free agency. They have a very particular draft process. Everyone that's been there has been there forever. Zach Taylor should probably be gone.
Oh, I thought you were going Dallas. I was like, oh,
no.
Okay.
I did too.
Dallas, McCarthy has continued to earn himself a spot until he actually loses because that's just how Jerry Jones is.
Yeah, but no, Zach Taylor, yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
And it won't happen because they let Marvin Lewis trot out there for 20 years, it felt like, and not win anything ever. So they're not going to do that. But it feels like they've reached the maximum of what Zach Taylor can do for them as an organization. And you see what Joe Burrow is doing offensively. And yeah, Taylor is a part of that, but really he's not calling plays anymore, I don't think. as far as I can tell, like it seems like he's not as involved with that as he used to be. He's more of that CEO type at this point. What does he really do for you that you can't get from someone else that might have a little bit more innovation to them as an offensive head coach? Or even maybe now that you have a settled in offense, maybe you go after a defensive type head coach, a guy who can turn this defense around. Because Lou Anarumo, as great as he's been in the past, not been great past 2 years. And a lot of that is personnel, but if you're not a guy that can get the most out of your personnel, then should you continue to be the defensive coordinator for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations? Probably not. Right? Like the whole coaching staff kind of needs, I think, a reset, and I think Taylor is the first one that has to go in that situation.
Yeah.
Well, and they're also having the money issues with the receivers as well, and like
Yeah, because they don't want to pay anybody.
And that's not even a coaching staff thing. That's
No, it's just an organization thing.
Because
Yeah.
historically, I was a bit floored when they gave Burrow the contract they gave.
I mean,
him
they
because-
had to though.
I mean,
Like that's
you
one of those
have
things where
to,
like you kind of
but-
can't not, but also
I
you're
mean,
right.
what did it take? It took them handing over naming rights of the stadium.
Yeah,
And, like,
they
that
literally
was
had to
something
do that after however many years.
it's just incredible some of the laurels these owners and organizations fall back on when it's like, what do you want? Do you want to like maintain your we don't do this here in Cincinnati, or do you want to have a successful football program? Like, well, I would say football program, Jesus, football organization.
Yeah.
This isn't college.
Yeah, I could see Taylor on the hot seat maybe down the road, but I wonder if the like Bengals front office still thinks that they can turn this season around.
All I'll say is the Meek brothers have been calling for this for years.
Yeah.
For years.
They have. And honestly, again, I think the Bengals are just a very strange team in the sense that they found their franchise quarterback. They found their franchise pieces offensively. But now that they've done that, they seem to be unwilling to commit to keeping it together as an organization. And if they decide not to sign one of those receivers, which is very likely, maybe both, which would really frustrate even me as a Steelers fan, being like, guys, come on.
Do you want to be competitive?
Right. And I think that the Bengals have to decide, what direction do they want their organization to go for the next 10 to 20 years? Do they want to be a team that's willing to commit all the resources they have to doing that? Or do they want to be this middle tier, like 1 year they're great, 1 year they're not, based on kind of how many draft picks they can hit on? Like, if that's what you want to do, so be it. But that's not how I'd be operating if I have all this talent on my team.
Yeah.
So that is what it is. Moving on to our next topic, which is, I think, very interesting because last year I feel like there was a point where this was a bit of a conversation about could a rookie win MVP? CJ Stroud was playing phenomenally. Definitely he missed a little bit of time, and then the numbers overall were really good, but nothing sensational. Lamar had his big run and took the Ravens to the AFC title game, so like he wins the award. But every week, seemingly, Jayden Daniels is climbing up the MVP betting ladder, and I think more so than we've seen in a very long time, this is a real true possibility if they continue to play the way they have, speaking of the Commanders. Because it's not just the fact that Jayden Daniels has been phenomenal as a rookie, it's the fact that they're winning. Because that does mean something to this award, whether it should or not, whether you believe it matters that much or not. The fact that the Commanders are 4-1, that is a big part of why he's even in consideration betting wise to win this award. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit in terms of, one, do we think it's actually possible for him to do this? And two, do you guys think he's warranted with his play that level of respect so far through 5 games? I kind of want to start with Zach here, obviously a little closer to home to you in this situation. What do you think of what you've seen from him?
If the Commanders win this week, and it is off the back of a Jayden Daniels, like, oh my gosh, man, he did it again. He is on top of the MVP leaderboard.
Okay.
Because yes, does he have a lot of passing yards? No, he does not. He has 1,135. I think he's like top 10, maybe, if that. He's like scratching like 11. but he also has 300 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. He hasn't lost a fumble. He's had 2 fumbles, but he hasn't lost one. So, I mean, you take that for what it is. But I think it's more of, yes, we thought that Jayden Daniels was the most pro-ready quarterback to play and start for a team, which is why the Commanders drafted him second overall as opposed to any of the other guys. And I mean, like Caleb Williams was different. I mean, I don't think that necessarily Williams was like a misread and Daniel should have gone first. I just think that he's having different growing pains with that organization, that offense. And it's not necessarily an indictment on Caleb Williams. Somehow, Jayden Daniels has just walked into the NFL and done some stuff that we have not seen ever. And I mean, like, you could say that the Texans had a rough roster when Stroud came in, but they still had some pieces that they could put together and do something with. And like when you compare it from this season to last season, I mean, they added Stephon Diggs, they added Joe Mixon, but the core of that team is still the same. I mean, they're sitting there, Nico Collins is out, and they're like, oh my gosh. And they had Nico Collins the whole time. So I think it's even crazier when you go back and they're like, okay, all they had was Terry McLaurin. You have Brian Robinson Jr. You didn't have Noah Brown before this season, like right before the season started. You didn't have Luke McCaffrey. You drafted him with Jayden Daniels. You have all these pieces that are like, I don't know about the makeup of this roster. And as you said, Shane, if you take Jayden Daniels out of this roster and put in who's their backup, Mariota.
I think it's Mariota,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
If yeah, and that might even be if he's back from IR because he was hurt to start this season. Yeah, it is Mariota or Jeff Driscoll. Yeah. If they were the ones that are forced to start, oh my gosh, this team is probably 1-4, if that. So yeah, while you don't want to say quarterback wins are a stat, and they're not, he is 100% a direct influence to the wins that they've had and the success that they've had this season. There just aren't the same pieces that you can look at from last season and be like, oh, there's still the remnants of this whatever. Like, no, all they really have is Darren Payne and Jonathan Allen. That's it, and Terry McLaurin. Like, it's so bare bones of like the stuff that they've had for so long, of the players that have gone through the struggle of the previous ownership and the rebuild of this current regime and all this stuff, that it's just like, nah, it's Jayden Daniels. And it's incredible to see. Last week was amazing to see all of those seats in those stands cheering on Washington, because it has been so long. They have been a laughing stock for so long. Now, I don't want to put my eggs in all my eggs in one basket here and get ahead of myself, because they are just 4-1. It's the beginning of the season, and everything could pull out from underneath of them. But he looks like everything he was billed to be and so much more. And if it continues looking like this, then yes, he is absolutely an MVP candidate, if not an MVP winner.
All right, I think pretty well said. What do you think, Jake?
I mean, yeah, just the question of whether he has a real chance. I don't think you can make the argument that at this point he doesn't. I do think you can argue that he won't.
Yeah.
I agree with Zach, though, in the idea that this game against Lamar Jackson is going to be a real benchmark of where the Commanders are and where Jayden Daniels is. Because I think both Daniels and Lamar are going to be, at least right now, it looks like they're going to be in that MVP conversation towards the end of the season. So I'm really curious to see just how the Commanders and Daniels especially look, because they look great through 5 games and they've played some tough games. But I think, now you're 4-1 and you have the expectations of, because the last couple of weeks, it's been like, oh, this is fun, going on the road and beating Cincinnati in prime time. Like, that's fun, but it's also fun because most people look at the Commanders at that point as like, oh, this is a nice surprise, I wonder how they play now with the expectations. I don't think they have the most expectations. I think they're definitely still like a fun new team, and they will be for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think now they have a little bit more expectations, especially with how Daniels has played. So I think seeing how they look this week will be a really good benchmark. And yeah, I'm really excited for this game. I am probably one of the highest in the ATB group on Jayden Daniels.
You were for sure. Yeah.
With that said, if you were to ask me if he wins MVP right now, I don't think he will. Just because it's a long season, and I do think at some point he's going to have some of those rookie struggles. But with that said, I've been very impressed, and I don't think you can argue that he doesn't have a real chance of winning it right now. I haven't looked at like the betting odds, but
I think he's fifth in most places
okay.
right now.
Yeah,
so.
I was gonna say he has to be at least somewhere around the top 5.
He took a big jump last week, so
yeah. But I think this would be a fun conversation after this week as well.
Yeah. What's up, Zach?
I just realized that Noah Igbenogany is the starting nickelback for the Commanders.
He is. Yeah, it's tough out there on defense. So my thing with Daniels, my thing with Daniels is, to answer my own question first, I do think there is a chance he can do it. Now, I think the biggest obstacle for him is going to be simply like, is he going to, because of how well the offense is running as a whole, how often is he going to have to put up truly gaudy numbers to actually win games? Because you look at the stats, like they're great for a rookie especially, and really great for anybody. But like you said, Zach, he's not like leading anywhere close to leading the league in passing yards. He does have a significant amount of rushing yards, but that's going to vary week to week, even with him, where he likes to run, but he's been better at like not just running into a brick wall 12 times a game like he did in college, which is great.
That is another important part.
Definitely glad about that, but that is something that is going to limit his overall statistical production. You expect there to be some regression at some point in terms of probably getting a couple turnover games. Like it's just normal for rookies to have that happen. So it's and as much as he's playing great, CJ Stroud is still the benchmark for me as far as quarterback play as a rookie. When you look at the efficiency of it and how like smart he played as an NFL quarterback as a rookie, Daniels is doing a lot of that stuff as well, but it's just not obviously to the same level. So you expect some of those struggles to come up eventually. But I think the biggest thing is that I think the Commanders would probably have to win, in my estimation, 12 games for him to win the MVP, because I think it can't just be like, oh, they sneak into the playoffs or they go like 9-8, 10-7. I think he has to like be very, very good statistically, and they have to be one of the top seeds in the NFC, because that's how you get MVP in this league, unfortunately. You can't really win it very often unless you are either having an outlier statistical season or your team is somewhere in the top 2 seeds of either conference, right? And I feel like doing both of those things, or either one of them really, is going to be a very tough task for him to accomplish. But do I think he could finish top 5 where he's kind of at right now? Yeah. Top 10, I think, is very likely. But again, we're talking about this guy right now as a rookie with this conversation. So it's really hard to be disappointed almost no matter what happens the rest of the way, because like these first 5 games have been truly historically good in a lot of ways. Like he broke the record for completion percentage for the month of September, like a lot of really cool stats that he's put up. It's going to be hard to really, be upset with this season regardless of what happens the rest of the way. Yeah. Any other thoughts on him before we move on?
No. I think we covered it all.
Yeah,
I think this Washington-Baltimore game could be an early game of the year candidate.
I think every game the Ravens play against another good offense is going to be a game of the year candidate.
I think it's going to be the game of the year candidate that everybody thought the Saints and the Chiefs was going to be.
Yeah, maybe. One other note I wanted to mention, and this is just because I want to give a little bit of credit where credit is due. I think Cliff Kingsbury has shut all of us up through 5 games.
I so wish he stayed with the Raiders this offseason.
Yeah.
This just stings even more.
Yeah, he's done great, specifically in the run game, where I wasn't ever really satisfied with how he did the run game with the Cardinals. He's really done a great job with Brian Robinson Jr., Eckler when he's been healthy. I mean, hell, Jeremy McNichols looks like a freaking all-pro behind them, behind the offensive line right now when he plays. Like, that run game is really helping Daniels stay within himself, too, where he doesn't have to constantly bail them out of bad situations. So, got to give him a lot of credit there, too. The other topic that I had specifically, and I think this one's going to be a fun one for us to talk about, because I feel like I know I'm pretty confident I know how at least Zach's going to feel about this. Jake, I'm curious how you feel about this as well. Are the Patriots making a massive mistake by turning to Drake May after 5 games of them proving to us all that they are indeed certified ass? Is this a good decision? Certified 5 games in. Are they making a mistake by putting the rookie out there behind a line that clearly is not good, with a receiving core that has not produced? Is this something that could come back to bite this team down the road, turning to Drake May at this point? I want to start with Jake this time.
Yeah, I would say so. The thing for me is I like the move to get Jacoby Brissett this offseason.
Yes.
For the exact reason of you're paying him money to
just go get your
Drake
ass
May
beat
for
for 17 games.
Yeah, basically. So I don't understand doing that. And then after the first quarter of the season being like, all right, well, let's just ditch that. That doesn't really make sense to me. I can understand thinking that, next, I mean, they're going to have probably a top 5 pick. I don't see how they don't have a top 5 pick next year.
Yeah, probably.
So I can understand wanting to, and they wouldn't move on from Drake May after this year, no matter what happens, I don't think. No. But the only reason I could see would that maybe they want to see somewhat close to a full year of Drake May. So that way going into the draft next year, you can know like what other parts of the team you need to build around him. But I just don't know the reasoning for getting Brissett and then turning to Drake May after 5 games, because we kind of have seen exactly why you got Brissett, so it doesn't really make too much sense to me. But the only thing I can see is wanting to have a better idea of where to build around Drake May in the draft and the offseason next year. But I don't know. I mean, I think that it's pretty much everywhere, I think is the answer to that question. You need help at a lot of spots. So I don't even really think this year answers too much of that. And I did think that towards the end of the year, they probably would turn to May at some point, or maybe even halfway through. But I would not have expected week 6. That feels a little bit against the reasoning of getting Brissett in the first place. So I would say they are making a mistake.
And what do you think, Zach?
Question time. Mm-hmm. Who is the Patriots' leading receiver?
Hunter Henry.
Yes.
That would have been my guess too. Yeah, Jake, so you got me.
Demario Douglas.
Jacoby Brissett loves his tight ends.
He does.
And then there is a sharp drop off as Demario Douglas and Hunter Henry combined for about 320, 330 yards. The next highest receiver is Antonio Gibson with 86. I think this is a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Brissett has also been sacked 17 times so far this season. You're just setting May up for failure. And I think it was very clear at the start of the season that there was a lot more holes that needed to be filled on this roster before May would have a respectable season in New England. And I mean, you're just feeding the poor dude to the wolves. And how awful will it be if their ineptitude on offense gets this kid hurt? Because that's why you brought Brissett in. You did not want to hurt your high draft pick in an awful season when you knew you didn't have anything on offense. But here we are.
And you saw exactly why you bring Brissett in too. Like the whole situation and reasoning for bringing him in has played out completely in front of all of our eyes. Yeah. So that should give them more reason to think, okay, Brissett's just going to keep getting hit at this point, and that probably sucks for him, but it's earning him another year in the league,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's not even like you're the Broncos where you kind of got cornered into starting Bo Nix. You have the option.
You didn't really get cornered. They didn't get cornered, Zach. Sean Pickens was like, that's my guy. That's my boy.
But that was after he also said out loud before the free agency period that he wanted Sam Darnold, and the Vikings were like, oh, you want Sam Darnold?
Whatever.
Because I guarantee you Sam Darnold would be starting for the Broncos if they had gotten
probably. Yeah. But
but like they just ran out of options because at that point when they got to Bo Nix starting, there were not any other options for them really to put out there. It was I there's a lot of teams that you can blame for starting the rookie this year. I don't think Denver is one of them
Can
because
I
there were
interest you in
genuinely
a
no
Jarrett
options.
Stidham, perhaps?
I mean, you're going
Can I
to get the
interest
same
you
thing.
in
You might as
a
well let the
Zach
rookie
Wilson?
try it out. You might as well let the rookie try it out. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. So, but like they also have the offensive line. They also have the weapons to where it's not a concern to send Bo Nix out there and he might die. I mean, Drake May is not going to have a good time. It's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. Like we thought that the Patriots were bad now. Whew, we might see a couple of zeros on the scoreboard at the end of games.
So, okay, so I definitely agree with both of you. I just wanted to come out and say that before I say anything else. But I think the thing that confuses me the most is the only justifiable reason to me for you to start Drake May is if you were a head coach whose job was on the line. Gerard Mayo just got this job. I do not think there's any scenario that he loses this job after 1 year. And I think because of that, you cannot justify going to Drake May because while I do think he would give you a better chance to win because of his talent level, I don't think it matters for this season. No matter what he does, it's not going to save your season at 1-4. He's not going to all of a sudden completely elevate this really not great group of weapons and offensive line. He just isn't going to do that. Most rookies can't, and even if he could, it won't matter by the time the season ends, right? They're not going on a 10-game winning streak, or this isn't happening. So to me, it feels like they're just trying to get him out there because they want to see him. And I get it. You draft a guy third overall. He looks really good in the preseason. He might be ready to play mentally. Like we don't know if he is or isn't. But it doesn't matter if you have a group of guys out there that cannot allow you to
Don't
play
fall for
quarterback.
it.
That's my point. Is like even if he's ready to go from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, the team isn't ready for him to go out there and make good on that promise, right? We've seen how bad they've been outside of really week one. They've not really been able to consistently produce offense at any point during the season, even in that week one game. The offensive line is at least in the bottom three in the NFL, given like depending on the week, like it kind of fluctuates, but I think they're at least in the bottom three overall. The weapons, like you said, Zach, like no offense to Hunter Henry, he probably shouldn't be leading your team in receiving
He doesn't
in
even have a
2024.
touchdown.
Yeah, but he probably shouldn't be leading your team in receiving in 2024.
No.
There just simply isn't enough here
Maybe
for
when they
Drake May to
signed him
succeed.
like 3 years ago.
Yeah, but like that's the point though, is there just isn't enough here to justify making this move if you want him to have the best chance of working out. Now, because this is the NFL and everything in the NFL hates us when we try to predict anything, could Drake May go out there and blitz the Texans this week? He could because it's the NFL. Am I betting on that? Absolutely not. I think he's going to get decimated. I think he's probably going to get blown up more than he does anything good. And ultimately, if they think he's prepared to deal with that reality, if they think if they think he's going to be able to grow from it instead of be hurt by it, then so be it. But I just don't think there's any way you could know that for sure. And the only way to make sure that you don't do that is to let him sit on the bench. And I think Jacoby Brissett said it himself best whenever they asked him about the situation, and he said that May asked him how he was doing, and he told May, if you're worried about what I'm doing, you have got the wrong priorities, man. Like you got to be worried about yourself right now. I think he was saying that from one, like trying to make the rookie not feel bad about taking his
Getting the
job.
shit beat
Yeah,
out
but
of him.
also because he knows he's about to get his ass beat. Yeah, exactly. Like you're worried about the wrong thing. And that's what I'm most worried about because, again, like, do I want to see another Patriots 20-year dynasty? Absolutely not. I know Zach's ass definitely doesn't want to see that shit. But
Oh no, I was about when you said the 10 game win
Zach's
streak,
enjoying this.
I was about to do some FSU eat the or make the thing.
yeah,
Like if they go on a 10-game win streak, like
exactly. Yeah, you'll do some
some
very questionable
unspeakable
things to your
things.
body. Yeah.
Yes, but
No,
no, I'm
but
not gonna do that.
the point though is like I still want to see. I want to see quarterbacks that are as talented as May is succeed. I want to see them be able to go out there and do crazy things because that's what we love about the sport. is when quarterbacks go back there and throw the ball over the field and do fun stuff to watch. And I worry that this could be the start of a career that doesn't go the way that it should or could for Drake May. So that's my kind of 2 cents on it. And I certainly hope I'm wrong, but I feel like we are not going to be wrong about this, unfortunately. So, but we will see. Anything else you guys wanted to throw out there across the league before we get into our game picks this week?
Not that I can think of, really. As I said, both of my teams are on buys this week, so I've kind of had a step back approach.
Yeah, you get to just chill a little bit this week. Is that good for you? You could use it, I feel like, especially with Miami. So I don't know.
Yep, just 1 week closer to Tua coming back.
Yeah, and hopefully he plays the whole rest of the year. We'll see. Anyway,
did you guys see that video of the Matt Moore hit that I shared in the group chat yesterday?
Are we talking about the one that
the Matt Moore hit, the Bud Dupree Matt Moore hit?
Yeah, the Bud Dupree Matt Moore hit. Okay, yeah.
As a Miami fan, I cannot believe I would be like crying if I saw Tua take that hit like today. Like I'd be like, oh my god!
If Tua took that hit, I don't think he would leave the field. I think they'd bury him on the field right
there. Yeah, and it's genuinely astounding. I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say Matt Moore came back into that game.
I don't think he did, if I remember correctly. But if he did, I'm sorry for him.
That's insane because
yeah, Bud Dupree tried to kill him.
Rocked.
Yeah, he had intent to end that man's life. I will never hear anything else.
Crazy.
As a Steelers fan, I saw the hit and I'm like, did they put James Harrison on the field or something? What happened? And then I'm like, oh, it's Bud. That's kind of the same. He's pretty big and strong too. But yeah, it's
they put Vontaze Burfict on the field.
Yeah, that was pretty much that was kind of the tail end of the Steelers headhunting people. It was not great. Anyway, moving on with that. Sorry, Matt Moore. Just throwing that out there. I don't know what you're doing nowadays. But,
I just see that. I always see that hit in a highlight reel like once every couple months, and I always just like.
Yeah, it's one of those hits where you don't like. Even football fans are like, I don't know, I don't like it. Yeah, it's not ideal. Anyway, let's move into our picks for the week. As we did last week, we will have just our standard picks, but also one game is going to be designated for each of us for an upset pick and for a blowout potential pick. So I do want to kick things off with the Jaguars at Bears, technically, but it's really a London game. Another London game. Of course, the Jaguars have to be involved at least once.
This is the second of three. This is the first of the Jaguars back-to-back stay.
Of course, where they should probably just set up shop and stay, in my opinion, at this point. But whatever. That's besides the point. But I will say the Bears' offense, despite pissing me off most of the time the first 3 games, has started to come around a little bit. I think that they're letting Williams do a little bit more stuff. I think they're calling more stuff that actually has potential to actually work out, something they were not doing so much of the first couple of weeks. So I've been happy to see that development for the Bears. And then the Jaguars coming off of a big win, if you want to call it that, despite it being essentially a lock. Like I said before the show last week.
Flacco made it scary.
Hey, listen, the only thing stronger than a mid-season Flacco resurgence is the Jaguars' ability to win at home against the Colts. The only thing stronger in the NFL. So ultimately, it works out. But no, the Jaguars coming off their first win of the season, and in my opinion, this is kind of not trying to spoil my pick, but might be their only one for a while, in my opinion. Maybe they get one of these London games, but I'm not feeling great about that. I will be taking the Bears in this game, just letting you guys know. So what do you think, Jake?
I'm going Jaguars.
Okay, well, I'm trying to go 2-4. Yeah.
Even after saying Doug Peterson might be the next coach fired, they kind of have like a second home in London. I feel like they do the most.
Should be probably their first home, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not yet.
We'll see.
I'm also just not. I mean, the Bears are 3-2, but I'm not really that sold on them still. I still think they've got some things to work through. And yeah, I don't know. I think their offensive line struggles. I think since having a tough rookie season, Trevon Walker has actually been a pretty stout pass rusher. I think him and Josh Hines Allen are gonna eat this week. And yeah, I just like the Jaguars in London for the most part.
It's fair. What you got, Zach?
I am also picking the Jaguars in London. I
All
think
right.
the Jaguars are going to go on a 3-game win streak here. Actually.
Oh, really? Try to win.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win back. Well, because they play the Patriots next week. So if they don't win that's sad. So it's really this game that's the deciding.
Is that one also in London?
Yes.
What a way to get people overseas interested in the NFL. Send the Jaguars and Patriots over there.
Well,
a
the
couple years
Jags
ago might have been more fun, but
Yeah.
The Jags have basically, so from what I understand, they volunteered for this because they don't have to do this.
they do not. No, they are
they have like a
actually doing
yearly
this on purpose.
I think they have like a yearly contract or something like that.
They have
doing
the
something
yearly
on
contract
purpose,
for the one
Yeah.
game, but they've
Mhm.
looked at them and said, you know what, we're already there anyways. We'll play 2. We don't mind. Like,
Yeah.
and it's because Khan has the football team, or my bad, the soccer team in England.
Well, technically,
as
you'd be more right to say football, if
You're
we're being
right,
honest.
but we're in America, so
yeah. This is America. Shut up. No.
yeah, America, yeah.
Yeah.
So I like you said, Jake. I like Jacksonville in London. They're a lot more comfortable. I I think that the road trip will be a bit much for what like since when has he ever had to take a cross country trip for a foot or across transatlantic flight for a football game? I think that's a bit more understated than a lot of people make it out to be. So
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm
It's a
also
long
just
flight.
trusting the Bears defense to just be too good for the Jaguars to
fair.
do much about.
That
But
is
That's kind of what I'm
that's
banking
fair.
on. But, it is what it is. Next game we have up is Texans at Patriots. We just spent a lot of time talking about this game. I'm just going to go ahead and ask the question. Do either of you have the Texans losing this game?
No.
Okay.
No.
So this one's pretty simple. Texans are a big favorite, despite the fact that they are on the road for a reason.
People need to temper expectations for the. Oh my! Jonathan Taylor is out for the game.
Okay, good to know.
Yes. So I just think that people need to temper expectations for Houston's offense with Nico Collins out.
Yeah, I do get that, but I just think that the Texans are just so much better than the Patriots that it doesn't matter.
This
But
game
I do
it doesn't
think,
matter. But for the next couple of weeks, people need to understand how important Nico. The name doesn't hit because he's not as popular as as he should be, but like he is the lifeblood of that.
So the easiest way to put it for me is that if you just looked at the film of the players in the NFL right now and listed the top 5 receivers, his name would be in there.
They would, yes, but
that's all you have to know about.
He doesn't
Nico
get
Collins.
the exposure that all the other wide receivers.
But but in general, like he's played like one of the 5 best receivers in the NFL for over a calendar year now. So it's I would say that it's pretty fair to question if the Texans can be as potent offensively without him. But again, this week, don't think so. And you said the same thing, right, Jake?
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, Commanders at Ravens. Now, this one I could easily see differing opinions on because of the Commanders' success. Now, Commanders do have to go to the Ravens. That does complicate the chance of an upset a little bit for me, just because I think that obviously that matters a little bit. However, going to be a fun game, I think, no matter how this goes. So that's the biggest thing for fans. Definitely tune into this one if you're able to. But Zach, what do you have for this game?
So as much as I would love to just come out and say, hey, Commanders are winning, this is my upset, I'm not, because that's irresponsible of me as a football journalist. So what I'm going to say is it's going to be a fantastic game. I think both teams are going to be able to move up and down the field pretty, I wouldn't say easily, but effectively. And it's going to be a shootout. I think Baltimore will win, but Washington will cover the 7 points. I think it's going to be close.
I think that's fair. What do you think, Jake?
This is my upset of the week.
There it is. I knew it. I knew it was, So
I have a different upset of the week that I'm doing for the lulz.
Yeah, I also think this is going to be a shootout. I don't think neither of these defenses really inspire me very much, but the offense is going to be electric. I think the real winner is going to be all of us for being able to watch it. But,
right, that's kind of my thing.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I'm going to take, especially at plus 6.5, and I took their money line in the betting show on Wednesday. But yeah, I think it's gonna be close either way, and so I'm just gonna roll with. I guess they're both hot, but the hotter hand than Jayden Daniels this week.
Fair enough. I do have the Ravens winning. I do think it's going to be a close game, like Zach mentioned, but I think that, as I said and as you guys said, I think the real winners here are all of us who get to watch this game. About two quarterbacks who are about as good of a dual threat combination as you can ask for on any given Sunday, right? We're kind of hoping for that with the Bills Ravens game, and then that didn't really go to plan. It was kind of all Ravens. Hoping to get a little bit more of a fun kind of dual threat matchup in this game. So, but I will take the Ravens begrudgingly, later on in the show you'll find out that is not great for the team on my hat currently. But we'll talk about that later. Next game up here is the Browns at Eagles. I'll start things off with this one. This is my blowouts pick of the week. I think the Eagles getting back their top two receivers. Jalen Hurts has a lot to prove after a really rough first 4 games of the year. And I think this Browns team is about ready to quit in every way possible. I do think that they are on the verge of, as a group, as a unit, kind of phoning it in for the rest of the year. And as much as being a Steelers fan, that makes me smile a little bit inside. It also is kind of like, man, that's really depressing at the same time. But at the end of the day, you did this to yourself, Browns. Could have been everyone's like happy-go-lucky pick for the last couple of years, but you had to do something else. So this is kind of what you get.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jake?
This is also my blowout.
Okay,
pick.
yeah.
I bet, or I picked the Commanders for the blowout last week against the Browns, and I think I'm just gonna keep picking whichever team plays the Browns until they give me, until I find a reason not to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just not good vibes in Cleveland.
Yeah, vibes real bad. Real bad.
Yeah, the Eagles are getting their receivers back, and at 2-2, if the Eagles want to, I don't know if the Commanders keep this type of run going over the whole season, but I do think the Eagles might be looking at this as a chance to kind of keep up in the division race. So I think they're going to have a lot of motivation coming into this one, and I think it's in Philadelphia also.
It is, yeah.
It is in Philly.
Yeah, I think this is another blowout loss for the Browns.
All right, what do you think, Zach?
Let's make it a 3-for-3.
Yeah, there we go. Which means they're going to lose by 3 points.
Yeah, no, that means that they're going to get upset. And that would be even better because that means Sirianni should lose his job.
Oh, yeah. You lose to Deshaun Watson unless you're the Jaguars. It's kind of hard
if you lose to Deshaun Watson after getting your top two receivers back,
yeah, it's over.
Then you absolutely should get fired. But yeah, that it's not. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Cardinals at Packers up next year. This is my upset pick. I'll throw it out there. Mostly because I didn't like any of the other ones that met my criteria of a +4 odds. So for me, I think that the Cardinals are just a team that any given week, because of their offense, has a chance to beat anybody. I think the defense also gives them a chance to lose to anybody, which is kind of why they're a fun team to watch every week because you never know what you're going to get. But I do think the Packers have looked a little shaky with Jordan Love under center, weirdly enough, compared to Malik Willis. Obviously, I think part of that is the kind of the creativity that LaFleur has to go to with Willis to just get anything going in the passing game. Whereas with Love, I think he's asking him to do a lot more, which last year, the back half was great so far in the 3 starts. This year, not so much for Jordan Love. We'll see if he can kind of get things settled down. But I do think that this does make them an upset potential every week until we see him kind of settle in like he did last year. So I'll take the Cardinals to go ahead and take care of business with the Packers. So what do you have, Zach?
I think that the Packers are going to pull it out. I think Jordan Love is going to have a nice game. Get back on track.
He should.
Just like
we'll see.
Yeah, and just get things back under control. I mean, Green Bay is still a good team.
Yes, yeah.
I just think that the beginning injury just threw some stuff off, threw some timing off, threw some time to develop with his receivers off, and it's just going to take he's 2 games back into.
It's 2 games since he returned, and it'll be the
so
third game in a row.
I could see 3-4 games, like the third or fourth game, him starting to really blossom this season.
What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, everything in my head is telling me to take the Packers, but I think I'm going to go with Arizona here. I think Green Bay overall is a better team, but they didn't look too convincing last week. They gave the Rams had a chance to
They did
go ahead late in that fourth
that pick
quarter,
six.
and it
One of
was
the
mostly
funniest pick
because of
sixes I've ever seen.
one of the most hilarious pick sixes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the one thing worse than taking a safety there.
Yeah, Will Levis-esque pick six is what happened there. So
I miss those pictures. I
Yeah.
need more pictures of him. I need him to do more crazy things so I can
we might get it back
ultimate
this week,
despair.
so you might get that.
Yeah. But I think Arizona's just a fun team. Like they're
They're
not
really
a great team, but there are some teams that aren't great but are still fun to watch, and that's what I think of Arizona. I feel like they have enough talent on offense, and they've been good enough to make it close, really, in any game. And they've looked pretty. I mean, they're 2-3 with a loss to the Bills that they really could have won that first week. So I think they might be a little better even than their record shows. So Green Bay totally could just. I think they're the better team, so they totally could win this game. But I think Arizona's fun enough to sneak out with a win this week.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm going with them as my upset pick. It just feels like it's at least kind of possible, right?
Yeah,
that's what it kind of comes down to. Buccaneers at Saints. As much as I am interested in a Spencer Rattler-led Saints offense, I think the Buccaneers are very much looking to kind of get back on track after not getting a chance to win the game in overtime last week when Baker Mayfield was absolutely dealing. The run game was working. That fumble by Bucky Irving, as great as he's been, is very much looming large now that the Falcons and Bucs are tied at the top of the division. I think the Bucs want to get back ahead of the Falcons to give themselves a chance to be at least. And I think the Saints are just too beat up to beat this Bucs team that is also beat up defensively. But I trust Baker Mayfield to kind of beat up that Saints defense more so than the Saints beating up their defense. So,
do we think the issues with them not being able to be at home at all this week will linger at all?
Maybe, but I think in general I just think they're a better football team, and two, I think that they're very much motivated to win this game after how things went for them in the Thursday night game. So that's where I'm at with it. Again, I'll take the better team even on the road in situations like this, especially with a rookie starting quarterback opposite of Baker Mayfield. So, what do you have, Jake?
I'm also going to Tampa Bay. Yeah, kind of the same reasons you said. I think they're going to be pretty pissed off after somehow not winning that game against the Falcons. They've had quite a long break now with a week and a half. And I think Spencer Rattler will be one of the more entertaining QBs to watch this year, but I don't think that he'll beat Tampa Bay in his first start.
What do you think, Zach?
Sorry. Sorry, my girlfriend just texted me randomly.
Okay, gotcha. You're good.
I think I'm gonna do it. It's not technically an upset because it's 3.5 points.
I'll let you have it. It's close. They're starting a rookie quarterback.
No. I have a different upset.
Okay,
I have a different upset for
that
that reason. But I'm gonna go with the Saints. I think Spencer, as much you guys say that Tampa Bay's going to be upset and ready to do all that, I think Spencer Rattler's going to go out there and be like, hey, this is my opportunity to show what I can do, and he's going to seize the moment. Very up and down career arc for him as far as the college journey, and I think he's just going to take the ability to be able to start an NFL game with every single ounce of oh man, at least I made it here. I was supposed to, but it was looking rough. So I think that the Saints might rally around the rookie and help him eke out a win here, even against a better Tampa Bay team.
That would be a lot of fun. I will say that. That's kind of like if you're betting on the fun thing to happen, that would definitely be fun. I will say my biggest thing is I think this is a rough matchup for a rookie against the top Bulls defense, even a banged up one. Just a lot of things he's going to get thrown at him. It's going to be rough especially with the Saints injuries they're dealing with. It's but I'm very much hoping for a still fun game from him in this one. So, Colts at Titans. This could be, assuming the two starting quarterbacks that are supposed to start play, could be one of the funnier NFL games played this entire season. That's what I'm betting on. I do have the Colts winning simply because I think it'd be really funny for Will Levis to lose the game on some insane like interception or fumble, and that's kind of what I'm betting on happening. However, regardless of who the quarterbacks are, regardless of everything else, I think that the Colts just have a little bit more going for them, even with the injuries to even with the injury to Jonathan Taylor, than what the Titans currently have going for them. It kind of feels like Titans find ways outside of the Dolphins game where they're playing a non-serious team. No offense, Zach. They
where has
yeah,
my Dolphins gone?
exactly.
Where can they be?
When they play real NFL teams, they find ways to lose. You look at the Bears week 1, that was tremendously awful. You lose to a rookie quarterback that threw for like 87 yards or whatever the hell it was. Like, it's just that's kind of what the Titans have been doing, especially if Will Levis is out there. I think, will find a way to lose the game. So I will take the Colts, even on the road. So, what do you have, Jake?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Colts also. They've just they haven't looked great, but they've looked better than Tennessee has, and I really hope the starting QBs in this game are Richardson and Levis.
Yeah, because no
I
matter
think that
what
would just be
happens,
so
we'll have
fun.
some fun stuff happen.
Yeah.
So,
Titans are actually favorites in this, which is kind of
well, they're at home,
interesting
so
to
that
me.
kind of gives them a
Yeah.
little bit of an edge. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go Colts.
yeah, what do you have, Zach?
I'm gonna have to go with the Colts as well. I mean, Tennessee's been up and down this season and whatever, but Will Levis is Will Levis, and they're just not really finding ways to win with him under center. I would feel a little bit different maybe if Mason Rudolph was under center, ironically.
Which there is still a chance apparently, because I know that he hasn't been fully cleared to go. Neither one of
Okay.
them technically, but I do think that a Flacco Rudolph matchup would be somehow
That would be
funnier.
incredible.
Be somehow funnier. It would be way less
Well,
interesting. But
Anthony Richardson's playing this week.
is he? Well, I wasn't sure. I know. He practiced fully for the first time
Yeah,
yesterday.
because
Okay, so he should be
they ruled
good.
him healthy.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he's my starting quarterback in my ATB fantasy league. So
We'll talk about the difference in quarterbacks, dude. Anthony Richardson versus Mason Rudolph might be the most like ridiculous, like in terms of like athletic measurements, like might be the widest gap between any two starting quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah. But no, I'm gonna go with the Colts.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just think they're a better football team until proven otherwise. Chargers at Broncos. Chargers coming off of bye week. They get some time to get healthy. Herbert gets healthy. Broncos have been winning games creatively. I'll say that is mostly what I would say. They've kind of managed to just make it work as much as they can, which I give them credit for. But I do think this Chargers team is a better team, a better coach team. They have the better quarterback. Just kind of everything about them feels, except for the defense, which not that the Chargers defense was bad before the bye or anything like that, but the Denver's defense has been phenomenal. At some point, though, they're going to have some sort of a letdown game, and I feel like this could easily be that. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Chargers in this game. What do you have, Zach?
Bo Nix me, baby. Let's go Broncos.
All right. 4-2 Broncos. Hell yeah.
Yeah. No, because I think the Chargers are going to charge or do something dumb with it not being at home. I like Denver's defense. That's been their calling card for the past few seasons, and I think that as opposed to last year, the offense has a little bit more mojo going than it did last year. Bo Nix is finding his way. I very, very much like the fact that he's standing up to Sean Payton.
That was a fun clip.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Show him he doesn't know anything, Bo. Just show him. But
I'll have you know, I was in college for 12 years, Sean. I know what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you know, Mr. Payton? No, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Broncos.
Fair enough. What do you got, Jake?
So in terms of the AFC West dynamic, the Broncos usually beat the Chargers and lose to the other AFC West teams.
Which is kind of funny, but yeah.
It was not the case last week. But the Broncos are not a good football team. And for that reason, I'm taking the Chargers. I mean, the Broncos looked good when they beat Tampa Bay. They threw for 60 yards, I think, when they beat the Jets. And
Bad weather,
if-
but yeah.
Negative 27
Yeah.
at half or -7 at half.
It was
or whatever
-5, I
was.
insane.
think. Or
Anything
-7,
negative
yeah.
is insane.
Yeah, it's
But
tough. Tough to do that.
yeah, they should have been down. If Gardner Minshew doesn't throw the worst 5-yard pass of all time, look, I'm not gonna ramble for too long here because I could ramble about the Raiders all day. But
Hey, you have time later. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, when you guys trade for your soon-to-be quarterback Russell Wilson.
I will. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about that.
I've been seeing the
if
chat.
they
and I'm just
trade
like,
Devontae Adams for Russell Wilson, I will stop watching football.
Not
I'm
just
not
the Raiders
joking.
football.
But in all seriousness, he has Bowers wide open in the end zone. That game's 17-3, and Denver looked horrible throughout that one. That pick six changed the momentum of the game, and the Raiders just aren't good enough to come back from something like that. So, yes, the Broncos are 3-2. They are not a good team, and a Jim Harbaugh coached Chargers team, I think, will beat them this week.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm banking on. Is like
the Chargers are just much closer to being a good football team than the Broncos are, in my opinion.
Yeah, which not sure how much that says about anybody, but it certainly means something, right? But no, that should be interesting games at least. Steelers at Raiders. Jake, let's let you kick it off. You already talked about this on the betting show on Wednesday night, but what do you got for this one?
Oh man, I took the Raiders on the betting show mostly because they were the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know. I'm gonna go Raiders, I guess, but as you can probably tell, I'm not too confident in that. Only because this has the vibes of a game the Raiders that should win because they shouldn't win it, and they're coming off a game they shouldn't have lost. Just based off of vibes, I guess I'm taking the Raiders, but I would not be surprised if the Steelers win.
What do you think, Zach?
I mean, I'm very inclined to take the Steelers because Justin Fields hasn't looked that awful. He's actually been respectable, I would say. There's just other issues, like whatever the heck is going on with George Pickens. I don't know what that is. I like the lack of offensive weapons for Pittsburgh is a little concerning, but I'm also just more confident in their overall organization than I am in Gardner Minshew. And
well, hey, Aiden O'Connell's starting, bud. It's over for Gardner.
Oh yeah, you better watch out.
Oh no, not AOC. Okay, dang. Well, that doesn't change anything. So
yeah, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
I want to see Roman Wilson play in this game. That's
dude. Me too.
I don't know what's. I still can't really explain what's going on.
Oh, I have a thought, but but Zach's ultimately who are you going with? Sorry.
I'm going with Pittsburgh.
Okay. As you guys saw, I had to take my Steelers hat off for what I'm about to say.
No, are you putting the Raiders hat on?
No, I don't have a Raiders hat.
I was gonna say, there's no way you have a Raiders hat.
I almost bought one actually, not long ago, but I did not. So here's the thing about the Steelers, right? And I talked about this actually on Steel Curtain podcast for those who may be interested in that. If you want Steelers coverage, we just hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Pretty cool.
That's cool.
But the Steelers, when they don't have both or really all three of their edge rushers healthy, are an unserious football team. They're pretty much built upon the fact that if they can get a 3-point lead in the fourth quarter, you just lose because the defense can destroy your quarterback. Like that's pretty much what their entire identity is. And like as fun as that is to watch when it works, when it doesn't, they tend to lose in historically sad fashion, right? You lose to a Dallas team that was starting me at edge rusher by the middle of the game. And you were like, you know what we should do?
Most of the names I had never heard before in my life.
Right.
I was like, oh my gosh. As
somebody named, I believe, Tyrus Wheat.
That's a Madden auto draft generated.
As I heard on another podcast, they use every man in the 53-man roster that night.
They really did. Like, so you lose to Dallas, who was starting nobody at edge, basically, NPCs at edge for most of the game. Even your second round pick at edge goes down like 4 plays into the game, so he's done. And what do the Steelers do offensively? It's 3rd and 8 on the first drive, and they're in field goal range, and they run the ball. They get 5 yards, and I'm thinking, oh, they were willing to go for it on 4th down. And then they sent out Chris Boswell. And I looked to myself, like, and essentially, like, looked both directions in my living room, and I'm like, was it 2nd down, or am I stupid? And I'm like, okay, so we're starting the game.
Did the same thing last week, but he punted.
Right, which is worse, but still, like, that's even funnier. But like, so I'm like, oh, we're starting the game off scared already. Okay, that's good to know. This team plays offense like they don't want to score points. Like, they play offense in a way where it's like, we want to possess the ball for 9 minutes and then punt to the other team. Like, that's what their game plan is almost every game. Especially as soon as they have a lead, right? If there's a 3-point lead, Mike Tomlin thinks the game's over. Now we're just playing for punts, guys.
Starts running the clock out.
Yeah, he wants the other team to punt the ball to us so that we can punt it back to him. Yeah, like that's what they do. And against a Raiders team, are you guys juggernauts offensively?
Absolutely
no.
Not.
Do I think that Brock Bowers is going to have 200 yards on us because we employ Patrick Queen at linebacker for some reason? Yeah, I think that you could do that. I think he could easily have, like, despite having a career game last week, I think you can have another one this week. I basically have no faith in this team to beat any team that they play with their edge rushers out. With just TJ Watt out there, they can just kind of not let him do anything if they choose not to by just throwing like 3 guys at him. And yeah, the interior players might make an impact, but it's a little easier to deal with that. You could just roll away from TJ Watt and throw for a 10-yard completion every fucking play because they can if they want to. Now, will the Raiders do that?
Will
they might not be smart
think
enough
of
to.
That?
Maybe not.
That thought will never cross Luke Getsy's brain.
That's possible. But I just have no faith in this team beating another actual football team, even a Raiders team that is barely an actual football team. Plus, Aiden O'Connell being the starter somehow makes me concerned because it's like anytime the Steelers play a random quarterback, like Bailey Zappi last year absolutely lit them the fuck up for some reason.
He is better than Minshew.
I think
and that is not saying much at all. And I also don't think AOC is a good quarterback in general, but it is technically an upgrade.
The thing with him, though, too, and I don't want to spend too much time on this game, although both you and I, Jake, have something to like actually talk about this game. I think the thing with O'Connell is that he's a very aggressive player. And I think the thing with him is that usually that's bad because he's not good enough to actually play aggressively. But against a Steelers team that likes to just let receivers run down the field sometimes for some reason, he's probably going to be able to hit a couple 50 bombs if he wants to. Like, that's going to happen if he gets time, which guess what? Probably will get time at times. So we'll see.
The only thing with that is he is not mobile in the slightest.
No, he is not.
So as soon as Watt collapses the pocket, which I know the Steelers have injuries a lot.
Especially to give you an idea, Jake, real quick, the plan at edge right now, as far as I understand, is TJ Watt and then possibly Isaiah Loudermilk at times.
Yeah.
Who, if you guys know who that is, first of all, I'm sorry. And second of all, the man is 300 pounds and about as fast as any of us are, maybe slower. So he's not threatening anybody's edge. I don't even know if he'll get out of a stance before the ball's thrown sometimes. Like, that might be something that happens. So
this is if they have Ogunjobi at starting.
That's great. I don't want that either. So
this will be fun.
He's starting an outside linebacker, Zach?
Oh, crap.
I was going to say, is he listed as a starting outside? Because I will lose my mind.
Left defensive end, my bad.
Yeah, that's what he plays normally. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
But I was going to say, I'm like, honestly, that's better than Loudermilk.
They have nobody at the other linebacker.
Yeah, I know. They probably don't because there's no one to put there.
There's nobody to put there. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, I'm picking the Raiders because, it's going to be like 14-10. The Steelers are going to go out to a 10-point lead. Justin Fields is going to look great, and then they're going to stop letting him play because the lead is had. and then they're going to give up a touchdown with like 30 seconds left to go down, and then they're going to ask him to go out there and try to make something happen when they stopped asking him to do it for 3 quarters.
You guys heard it
So,
first.
yeah.
Shane is one of the writers for the NFL script.
I am, and if it happens, don't even give me credit for it because it's not hard to predict. I don't even want anyone to give me credit for that. If that happens, it's really not that hard to imagine that happening. So, but I've spent enough time talking about it.
We spent too much time talking about this game.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So moving on, Lions at Cowboys. Is anyone taking the Cowboys in this game?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
No.
cool. Yeah, Lions should run for 300 yards if they so choose.
They should.
Jared Goff might continue his perfect streak of passing from last game, which would be really fun.
Please let your first-round running back unleash himself.
Yeah, listen. If anything, David Montgomery has continued to show why they shouldn't just give Jameer Gibbs all the carries, so it doesn't matter. You could, I mean, I'd like to see him more too, but David Montgomery's like, listen, I'm still here, man. We're good. Yeah, that one's pretty simple. I don't think we have to spend too much time on that. Cowboys still banged up. Lions just better football team. You know the drill. Falcons at Panthers. I'm just gonna say I'm taking the Falcons. Because the Panthers pissed me off last week by getting absolutely shit stomped after I picked them as an upset.
Let's go, Kirk O'Chains.
Right, that too. Kirk looks again,
Kirk looks happy.
Yeah, he does look great. So that's definitely good for them too. And yeah, I just think the Panthers are also an unserious organization currently because they just can't be if they wanted to. Don't have the talent to make themselves serious. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Falcons too, but I do think this game will be closer than it should be.
Probably. But I don't trust the Panthers for shit right now. So,
Yeah.
Plus, it feels like every other game, it's like, oh, this other player, that's the only other NFL player we have, gets hurt. So it's like, it just feels kind of like they're getting bludgeoned every week. But I'm assuming you're taking the Falcons too, Zach?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Bengals at Giants. I know what this pick is going to be for Zach. I wanted to do it myself. However, I feel like the Bengals.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice.
Yeah, I feel like the Bengals can win this game and get themselves to a little bit more of a stable footing. But I do think their season is already over at 1-4. Obviously, I think it's really hard to come back from that. Do I think they're going to end up with like a top 5 pick? No. Do I think that they're going to win more than like 8 games though? No. I also don't think so. I think they're kind of firmly, because of the issues defensively and some of the decisions by the head coach, they're firmly in the mid of the NFL. And I think that's going to remain that way the rest of the year. But I do think they can at least beat the Giants team that is friskier than we thought probably. But I think they are just still better than even with the defensive issues. But I know Zach definitely, I think, feels differently about this game. So I want to give him the nod here first.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with the Giants. Put Zach Taylor firmly on the hot seat.
Yeah, I mean, it should. It probably won't matter even if they did it, by the way, which is crazy, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm going to go with the Giants. They played a good game last week. That very much surprised me. Although, granted, what we saw last night from Seattle, I think that there's some bigger issues in Seattle, and they were maybe a little.
If Malik Neighbors was in this game, I may have flipped my pick. Just saying that.
Well, I mean, he wasn't in it last week, and it didn't.
But I know, but I'm saying that would have made it even easier for me to pick this team.
I just think that some of the role players in New York are fed up, and they're like, "Look, I'm gonna do what I can. It's about time. Like, if Daniel Jones can get it in the vicinity, I guess that's okay." I think they've acknowledged.
Yeah, I agree. But what do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I'm also taking the Giants.
You know what? I appreciate that from you guys because you had more fortitude than me. I wanted to pick them, but I was like, you know what? I feel like the Bengals could get this one, right? Well, maybe not.
Yeah, Daniel Jones looked like, throughout the last year on these podcasts, we've had a lot of fun with Daniel Jones.
I have in particular.
Specifically Shane.
I have had a lot of fun with Daniel Jones, yeah.
But he played tough last week.
He did.
And he looked like an NFL quarterback. And the Bengals defense is really, really, really bad.
It's really bad. They're also missing Dax Hill now too, which doesn't help.
Yeah, they're getting gashed every single week. Now, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, that does scare me in this one. I don't really know how well the Giants defense holds up, but the Seahawks they didn't look that great last night, so maybe their win against the Seahawks last week doesn't look outstanding, but I still think, especially for this Giants team going into Seattle and winning on the road, is not easy to do, and they did it pretty definitively. I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but I actually do think Daniel Jones will have a good game against this defense this week. And I could look very stupid for picking Daniel Jones. But I don't know. I really think this Bengals team is good offensively and disgusting on defense. So
yeah. And I totally get it. I would love to have picked. I want the Bengals to continue to lose because I think it's funny. But
it'd be so funny if they lost this game.
It would be like, well, see, the thing is too is like you got to remember the Bengals aren't just playing against the opponent; they're playing against their head coach a lot of times. Because if you go back and watch that Ravens game last week, not only did the Bengals get a turnover to give themselves a chance to win the game, right? They get basically a chance to win the game because of the fumbled snap. Your all-pro quarterback, who was having a phenomenal game outside. There was a bad interception. I understand that, but like outside of that, having a phenomenal day. Ravens cannot cover anybody, right? You hand the ball off 3 times when you aren't in very, very easy field goal range.
Hey,
especially the last one where they just go to center the ball and they're like the 40-yard line.
You can't risk the turnover, man. Like,
yeah, you can't risk the turnover whenever you're kicking the ball and missing it. It's a turnover. It's really hard to,
especially when Joe Burrow has 4 touchdown passes.
5.
McPherson's one of the highest paid kickers in the league for a reason.
Yeah. Granted, the punter definitely whiffed on the hold, but like it's a lot easier to kick a field goal when it's not 53 yards or whatever.
Well, I mean that's also been a very recent change in the way that people think about field goal kicking.
You're right.
Like
it's
50s,
more successful. 50 is not as much of a problem anymore.
Yeah, these people have. I mean, these guys have become machines. Because like it's astounding to see like Brandon Aubrey. Good God. Oh
yeah,
Lord.
Yeah, but Boswell this year too, 50 plus. Yeah. Point is though, if you look at the Bengals last week,
have one of those. We have to keep employing Jason Sanders every year. Jesus.
I don't know. You guys don't want to kick field goals anyway, right?
I hate Jason Sanders.
No, he's my fantasy kicker for some reason.
I would get a different one.
I did.
I have to figure out who I'm going to drop this week so I can retain Harrison Butker for the rest of the year.
Boo. No, anyway. The thing with the Bengals though is that they will find ways to lose games under this coaching staff, opposed to the Giants, who I feel like as long as Daniel Jones plays like a sentient quarterback, I think that he can actually like do enough to give them a chance in a lot of games because this team is playing well. So, but I respect you guys for picking the Giants in this game. And lastly, maybe potentially one of the funnier Monday night games of the year.
I'm amazed that the line of this game is only 2.5 points.
Yeah, but Bills going on the road, leaving New York to go to New York.
To go to New Jersey.
To go to New Jersey. So short trip. Bills at Jets, Monday Night Football. Josh Allen had one of the games in NFL history last week. I still need to go back and watch the all 22 of it, but when I saw the stat line, I was like, is it 2018? Do we just get transported back to the year 2018?
They're a weird team right now.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. They're banged up a little bit.
Shakir was hurt last week, so
he was.
Your number one target is out. The passing attack is going to look a little weird.
And certainly it did, apparently. So, but Bills almost still won despite Josh Allen being 9 of 30, I think it was passing, which is still like. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, only Josh Allen could do that, and 30%
also
completion
percentage.
Yeah, yes, nice solid 30%.
131 and 1 touchdown. He was only sacked once.
Yeah, only sacked once. Did not turn the ball over. Yet was 9 of 30. Like, you know how hard it is to throw the 21 incompletions in a game and not have one of them go to the other team, and only have 9 completions. That's so funny. Like, I guess good for him.
Technically, it is a completion. It's just not to your team.
Right. Sure, Zach.
That's got to be like a a scoregami for like quarterbacks. When
Yeah,
was the last time someone went 9 of 30 with
like
no
30 attempts or more, less
Yeah.
than 10 completions, no interceptions. Yeah,
When was the last time somebody went? What was it for Bo Nix? what for -7?
lowest net passing yards. No, it's just the Bills are a weird team. The Jets are a weirder team somehow because it's the Jets. Normally, I give teams who fire their head coach a boost the next week. Naturally, I don't know if I want to do that for the Jets because it feels weird.
Well, they didn't get rid of the coach. Aaron Rodgers is still in the building.
That's true. You're right. But yeah, I don't know what to do with this game because part of me is like the Bills seem real messed up and they need some recalibrating. And I don't know if Josh Allen does not play well historically against the Jets, right? So that makes it a problem. And he just had a 9 of 30 game. Shakir, I think, is still out.
He's
If I'm not mistaken. He's questionable. James Cook was on the injury report. I don't know what that's about yet. Everything feels like it's lining up for the Jets to win this game and technically be first place in this division, which is disgusting, by the way. Disgusting. But I don't know. I'm gonna take the Jets just because I think that's the funniest outcome. Because the Jets losing wouldn't really be that funny. It would just be like, yeah, no shit, they lost. Of course they did because they are weird. But for the Bills to lose this game, even on the road, I think would be very funny after the way they started the season 3-0. So I'm gonna take the Jets just for that reason. But I don't feel great about it. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on the fact that usually I would also take a team that just fired their head coach because similar head coaches and quarterback changes, I feel like teams usually play more with more energy.
Yeah, there's something's different. Let's do it. Yeah,
but
it's like
I don't think this Jets team is going to do that because it does just seem kind of strange.
Yeah, the circumstances
and
make it weird.
I'm going to take the Bills. I just don't. I think they're better than the Jets. Sometimes the Bills do lose some games to the Jets, like last year in New York.
Week 1 was really still an
lose.
absolute fever dream of a game to me.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I think the Bills are able to. It'll be close for sure, but I think Buffalo's able to get this one.
Fair enough. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah. So I'm gonna take the Bills because, as you guys said, like typically when a coach gets fired or there's like a personnel change, there is somewhat of a boost. However, given that Saleh was the one, I would have said maybe if it was Nathaniel Hackett. If Nathaniel Hackett had been fired, I would have been like, hey.
I mean, he's essentially fired, right?
Yeah, but he's still on the team.
Todd Downing, by the way, calling plays, not ideal either historically.
Yeah. So I guess
I totally forgot to mention that.
Yeah, not awesome.
Not an upgrade at all.
So the Jets were 5th in EPA on defense, per play on defense.
Yeah.
I don't understand how removing Saleh from the equation helps them maintain that number and does not make them get worse. Exactly. They have losing the defensive presence like Saleh has to make the unit worse. Like I know that
you can imagine to some degree, but
like it has to have some sort of effect. So if it were an instance of like Doug Peterson, it's been clear that Doug Peterson has been coaching like ass this year and they brought somebody up and they're like, oh, hey, like this dude knows what he's doing. That's cool. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't feel like that's what the Jets did.
No.
They fired a scapegoat because they had to do something. Yeah. Woody Johnson was like, hey, I'm going to do this today, and that's what he did.
I also have a bit of a conspiracy, by the way, that the reason why he fired Saleh is because they lost in London when he was the UK ambassador for 4 years for the US government. I think that was part of it.
I have heard
I think that at least played a small part in it. Where he was like,
and he also has like friends that were at the game.
He was like, oh, my friends are upset. I'm going to can your ass. It's like, all right, dude.
You embarrassed me in front of my friends.
That shows even.
Don't talk to me or my friends ever again.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. That just shows even more how inept the Jets franchise is. So, no, I'm going to take the Bills.
Yeah. I mean, I probably should have taken the Bills.
I think that Josh Allen bounces back and they're fine.
Yeah, I should have taken the Bills, but I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you got to take the thing that'd be funnier. And for me, that's the Jets winning. Because then they get to say, we're first place. And it's like, but
that's what I did with the Giants against the Bengals. So
fair enough. What's up, Zach? Sorry. Hello. I think we
Oh.
lost him. Well, that's good that we're done with our game picks then, at least. I'm not sure what happened with Zach, but at least we got through our show. Thank you guys for joining us. Definitely trail us on our picks if you want to not be successful. I say that every time on the betting show, but also you could take that for the show as well. I do think I was like 65% right last week, if I remember correctly, which is pretty good. We'll have to see if I can maintain that. Probably not, because I picked some interesting winners this week, but we'll try to see what we can do. But that'll do it for us this week. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, get a bigger crew. I'm trying to have 4 guys on. It feels like that's the right amount, but 3 was totally fine. We also had a little bit more time to mess around without missing too much stuff. So that should be fun next week. But I will see you guys next time. And thank you again for joining me, Jake. And hopefully Zach is okay. I guess we'll have to get an update on his situation. But that'll do it for us this week. See you guys.